hopefully you're sitting comfortably, Callum. We're not going to be too harsh with you. We'll just start it. We'll just start it where obviously it all began. Were you born to be a racer? Was your dad kind of a racer, or and kind of pushed you towards it, or was it something you kind of just did one day and thought you'd love it?
Yeah, very simple. I tried it at like a go-karting party with some kids when I was 7, and I think for me, I loved it, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, can we go again?" So he took me again, and I think for me, like, there was nothing that came close to it in terms of school sports. You know, rugby, football it was all it was good fun, but it was all cool, you know, just passing the ball, whatever. Whereas driving and being so close to the ground, 60 mile an hour at the time, there wasn't a feeling like it at 7 years old. So I think I begged him to go again. He had no background in motorsports, no idea. My mum the same. So I think some clever clogs at the track was like, yeah, if you buy a go-kart, it will be you know, cheaper in the long run. That was a big mistake. And then here I am now, pretty much. No, it was really just a hobby. I just enjoyed it. I wasn't even in it for the competition side. I think that came a bit later when I started doing well, where I was like, oh, you know, there's a thrill out of the competition here. Before that, I was just driving because I enjoyed it, and that's where the passion comes from. That's why even if you put me in a golf cart, I still love driving it. So yeah, anything.
Did you watch Formula One or anything like that on TV? Did you kind of idolize people, or was it literally the first kind of party that kind of put you into it?
I did, because of Lewis. I think it was 08.
Right. Oh, we've got a freeze again. I'm sure he'll be able to answer that question when he comes back. I do apologise for technical difficulties. He is over in the States at the moment, so we're flying through the interwebs. And trying to keep everything live. Hopefully he'll have an answer to that question very shortly. And if you're listening on the podcast, you won't hear all this. So subscribe to the podcast. It will be...
Sorry.
It's fine. You're back. I was waffling anyway, just to fill dead air. Carry on, sorry.
Dodgy Wi-Fi, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you do it on the go. So I grew up watching Lewis, basically. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, I mean... one of the greatest at the moment, certainly, and I'm sure he'd be an inspiration to many young lads at your age in school and whatnot. Okay, Cara, have you got a question for Callum?
I was going to ask about what your experience has been like being like a Ferrari Academy driver, because you sort of PR'd us before. I was like, oh, is he able to answer that question? Obviously, what were your experiences like? But then if not, do you sort of now support Ferrari and feel like you have an understanding of the team?
Yeah, of course. I like, in terms of the last part of your question, that I have a great understanding of how the team works, and you know, the drivers and the engineers. Obviously, I can only comment so much on it, but you know, you can understand as well why a whole environment takes time to develop and, you know, get the results. Like this package that you see of the two drivers, the team that you have has been in development for 2-3 years, and it doesn't come when those guys arrive. It comes later on. Like obviously Charles had a great first season with Ferrari, but now you start to see it really come together, and you know, everyone's like, oh, where's it kind of come from? But you see it. I've seen it in development. So number one, is cool to see. Number two, being part of any academy is obviously something that you aspire to be from when you're younger. To be part of two is very cool, or to have been part of two was cool. I lived in Italy for 4 years, spent my life pretty much at the factory, whether it was with a simulator or training, physically, mentally, meeting with the engineers, discussing everything from, you know, tires to aerodynamics to mechanical engineering, and you learn and you become part of that environment. So it was a bit weird for me to move away from it and now be in the US, because I spent the last 4 years of my life kind of setting my life up in Italy and, you know, going from that. But yeah, it's incredible to see. I think one of the things that surprised me is when I did kind of like a full factory tour and saw everything, and I'm not talking about the big stuff, but the details that go into all the little things. You really build an appreciation for how how impressive these cars are. And it's not when I see the thing put together I go, okay, that's super cool. But when you see these guys working on the floor hours and hours and hours a day to perfect the smallest of things, that's where it's impressive. That's where the details are, and that was what was really nice to see.
Yeah, that's so interesting that obviously now you have even more of an appreciation for that, and like you say, an understanding of how it all comes together. Yeah.
Were you always good with kind of the mechanical side of things? Were you instinctively good at kind of mechanics, or is it something you obviously do learn as you join these teams and stuff like that? Or what do you think?
I would say, luckily for myself, I'm probably on the smarter side of some of the drivers. I have to say, we don't have a good reputation in general, especially with engineers. They always, should we say, take the piss out of us for maybe not being the cleverest. But no, I've always been on the good side of that. And to be fair, if it was on the more technical side, I would always simplify it and make it the best, the easiest it could be to understand it. And everything's understandable to a certain extent. But when I was 15, 16, starting in cars, I was thrown very in the deep end with Formula 3. And I had to learn very quickly how to, do the data myself and interpret everything, because no one was going to do it for me. And in the long run, it was better. So yeah, I'm at that stage where I'm involved in every meeting, and I can, decipher everything. Yes, maybe I need a couple of things explained to me, but the great thing is, because I can kind of relate. I'm sure other drivers can do the same, but I can relate to what the engineer is saying. There's a mid gap of, should we say, translation, because they think theoretically and in numbers, and I think in driving, and this does that, and they think this does that, but there's a bit where it connects, and I think some drivers miss how to communicate that, or don't communicate it at all, and don't know what they want, so you don't find an answer, and then the engineer's guessing off of what they see. So yeah, when you can bridge that, and then also you can explain to them why I feel this, and maybe it comes before what they see, and the same way that they see something and they can explain it to me, that's where the best connection is. Anyway, it's going quite deep into it, but that's how I like the relationship to work.
And you have driven an actual Formula 1 car. It's important to kind of to get that through. It's not just been sims and not just been kind of computer games that you've played. You've been in the car. So what's the difference between kind of stepping up from F2, F3 to F2 and then F2 to F1? Is it kind of a stark difference, or are they just kind of minute steps?
F3, I wasn't shocked by the step F3 to F2. They're very similar, the cars, just a little bit more, should we say, difficult to get right when you go into the F2, because you've got carbon ceramic brakes in F2, whereas F3 you've got steel, and they make a massive difference in terms of how you warm up the tyre, and then you've got the tyre itself. It's just little things like that where you have to build an understanding for it. But in a pace wise, actually the Formula 3 on a race pace, I think, is quicker than the Formula 2, just because of the amount of degradation you have with the Formula 2 from the tire and the weight of the car. The corner speeds actually end up being higher because you save so much of the tires in F2, the races. It's more of a endurance race of the tire than a pure performance, so it's a bit of a different atmosphere, but that's why the racing is so good in F2, because it's tough, and that's what you have to get your head around more than the speed. Other thing with F3 and F2 is you only get one practice of 40 minutes before going into qualifying on a completely different set of tires, and you get out, warm, push, cool, push, so 2 laps, come in, out, warm, push, cool, push. So you get 4 laps in total, and normally the tyre only works on the first lap of each run, otherwise you drop 5/10 on the second run. So you don't do many laps, so that was what was difficult about getting that right. Going to the F1 car, I drove the 2019, 2020 and 2021 Alpha, and I drove the 2018 Ferrari. So I've driven a couple of them. Just the speed is insane. It's another level. Braking, corners, acceleration is very linear, and the way I would describe it is it's like the perfectly engineered machine. Everything's, it's almost easy to drive in a certain sense, Don't take that out of context, but
No.
as a driver, it's like, wow, it's so smooth. It just goes where you want, and I can go on curbs, I can get on traction, and it just works. And it's designed to be like that. But then, of course, you see, there is a difference between drivers because they can get more out of it. But when I go from like F2, which is like very rough, you're just trying to scrape a lap out of it, to F1 of lovely. It's a bit of a shock.
You've got a lot more driver aids, I guess. I mean, they have kind of put a stop on a lot of the driver aids over the years, but they're all still there. All the technology is still there to kind of help you a little bit, I guess.
Well, it's not that it's there to help you. It's built to be the fastest possible car you can drive. So, and that's the easiest way to explain it. It doesn't need driver aids. It's so simply over-engineered. It's like, it just goes where you want. And as a driver, that's the nicest thing you can have.
So, okay, then you're now in Indycars. Obviously, you had 3 races last year, and you've had a few races this year as well. What's the difference in those 2 cars? Obviously, they're completely differently controlled as well.
So, yeah, I mean, Indycar's a very different experience, and they've got a very different philosophy here of the cars are meant to be the same. So everyone's got the same chassis here. The only things that are in development are engines and the suspension and dampers. So the engines, you have Honda and Chevrolet, and they've got to keep to certain specs. But of course, I think it's every other year one engine gets or is allowed an upgrade or whatever. Right. Then we have the suspension, which team is just open. As long as it looks like suspension, you can pretty much put it on the car. Which you get teams spending $2.5-3 million per year in development for the suspension, which is why right now I'm in a brand new team. We are 1 car at the moment, so it's a big struggle for us because we're just starting. Even if we have the budget and everything to do all of this, we don't have the time to develop and the test days to develop as quick as other people. So we're playing massively on catch up, and results are tough. But fundamentally, the car is closer to the F2. It's faster than the F2, but it's closer in feeling and the way it's built. It's a Dallara chassis as well, so same as F2. But the races are built on, should we say, it's more the driver. We try and give you guys a little bit of development, but we've got 5 teams, 6 teams, 7 teams that can easily win, and if they have a good day. Our races are 1 hour 40 minutes if it's lights to flag green, no power steering. I think I've done races where I had 5 pit stops. It's a killer. This is physically tough. I mean, it makes F1 look like we're playing in the playground. This is like, for example, I'm going to the gym now every day, and when I go to the gym, there are 10-15 other drivers there every day. It's intense and it's tough. My hands came apart on the first race weekend we did here. But that's the challenge of it. It's good fun. There's a lot of room to, improve. And I think it's opened my eyes up to a lot of different things out here. It's very simple. They don't overcomplicate it here. Less politics, which is quite nice in some ways, especially as a young driver trying to go around all that sort of stuff. And then we have the ovals, which is just insane. It's a very different style. And I came over here thinking, okay, what's this about? The technicalities of these ovals is incredible. It looks so simple, but it's so difficult to explain. But in a racing scenario and all of that, there's so much more to it. Actually, I'd probably say it's simpler to drive on a normal track and race that than it is to drive on an oval. That's what's so weird about it.
There's lots of risks associated with obviously oval driving as well. Were you fearful of your first oval?
In some way, you have to respect the oval. That's the first thing. And like, I did a whole test day, and it was fine. You're going round and round and round and round. And I think 1 lap out of the 200 that I did or whatever, I looked at the wall and I was like, Jesus Christ! If I hit that, it's gonna really hurt. You're going 200 when.
I'm guessing he's going to say 220 miles per hour, but we'll see what he says once his internet connection gets back. Again, apologies about this, but This is a live event. Oh, sorry, there we go.
Yeah,
No,
I'm getting
fine.
quicker.
So you were going 220 mile an hour, you were saying, I think.
Average speed. So yeah, if I looked at the wall and I was like, yeah, that's really, really going to hurt if you hit it. That's the risk of it. And then in racing, there's more. You've got other people to worry about and find your feet with. But it's a challenge. Yeah, it's different. I don't know if I fully like it yet, but at the same time, you've got to learn, and it's another complete different scenario.
Well, Sophia is our biggest Indy fan on the panel tonight, which is why she's come along to kind of talk to you. So I'll let Sophia ask you a few questions now, because I'm sure she's
far away,
itching to get them out.
Yeah, I can't wait. So, I mean, you've kind of answered a bit of my questions that I have in that big conversation. But out of the street, the road, and the oval, which one's been your favorite so far?
I mean, road is very simple. So road for our UK Europe viewers is like a normal circuit. Street circuit is a street circuit, and I like the street circuits. You know, the atmosphere, like at Long Beach, for example, we had 180,000 people there on the weekend. For a smallish venue for IndyCar is incredible, and you know, to have that kind of support and stuff is incredible. And it shows, you know, as a championship we're doing well, and to get that atmosphere is great. The Oval, Texas, I mean, as from a driving point of view, it was a learning scenario. Texas, we didn't have many fans, unfortunately. But when we come here for the race in May, you get 350,000 people on the day, whoever number of people on TV, it's incredible. And I think the drivers love it. They feel like superheroes, so hopefully I can get to feel like that and enjoy the week for what it is.
Yeah, because the oval's more iconic compared to the street and road, because that's kind of a new developing one. Because there's 4 to 5 ovals this season.
5, I think.
Yeah,
I think 5, 5, and 7. That's the way. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's Alabama next weekend.
Yep.
As well. And then obviously you have some of the iconic ones, Indianapolis. Texas obviously is iconic as well, but Indianapolis is more. So what's been your favorite track? Like, you did 3 races last season as well, and now you're going into your full season. What's your favorite track that you've done so far, and what track are you looking forward to the most?
Laguna was really cool, Laguna Seca. It's one that I'd always played on video games, and you know, you get to go out there and enjoy it. Long Beach for the atmosphere was awesome. I think coming up, it will be nice to race in Toronto. My dad lived there for a little bit just before COVID, so it's a shame that I couldn't do that whilst he was there, but it will still be cool to go there. What else? We got one other one that I was really looking forward to. St. Pete was cool as well. That, you know, to go down to Florida in this, it's very cold here in Indiana at the moment, so it's nice to go down there.
Yeah, St. Pete was like a scorcher as well. I think it was like 106 degrees, something like that. Like,
yeah, it hurt. Let's just say it hurt. I had to drive with my visor open.
Wow,
that's crazy. So with your team, first time back since 2019, you're the only driver for the team, which is a little bit different compared to other teams who have 2, sometimes 3 kind of with the part-time drivers. How does it feel, especially it being your rookie year as well with a new team? What are your aims, and like what's the team's aims for this season?
We've had to change like the expectations a little bit because it's very tough, and we're not quite there yet. We've got to develop quite a bit. I think, you know, like the target unfortunately is like just getting into the top 10 on a couple of occasions would be great. And you know, we have to work on it a bit. I think we had the pace at Long Beach beginning of the weekend, and then unfortunately we don't really develop enough, and we get caught out by a couple of things, and we came to quali and it just wasn't there anymore, that pace that we had. And you kind of realize after the weekend, oh yeah, if we'd done that, you know, it could have been a bit better, one of those things. And I think the thing is, we try, for example, we try one option of setup for us is free options for a team with free drivers and that kind of thing. And we need to be able to get to that stage. So yeah, the expectations are very different, but at the same time, it's a long term setup for this team. So, you know, it's a shame because I hope we get some results and get what we deserve at some point. But at the same time, I know it's in the long run, so you just have to be patient.
Will you be staying with them for the foreseeable then? Have you got a couple of year contract under your belt?
No. At the moment, it's 1 year, but obviously, I wanna make Indy work as much as possible, and it's a great career out here. So yeah, I'm looking at all the options in that sense. But as a team itself, the setup is that it's going to be long term and stay a long term. So I mean, I can stay, I can do what I want, kind of thing. I could even go back to Europe. The only thing I can't do is go to F1 at the moment. That's the only sad part. No, I'm joking. It's good. It's a great environment here, and it's something that, you know, drivers. There's a couple of drivers here who are in their 20th season. I mean, it's,
wow.
Yeah, like
Hilo,
the F1 side. Helio, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal, they've all done 15 plus seasons and very successfully as well. So
yeah, they're massive names as well. Obviously, even, you know, if you don't watch kind of IndyCar, you know these names, you've heard of them, because, you know, if you watch F1, you're bound to have kind of a crossover. But there are lots of F1 alumnus on the grid as well. So you've got something in common. Do you get to kind of speak to those at a race weekend, at a meetup?
Yeah, Roman, he's obviously the newest big name out here. We've got Marcus Ericsson as well. Sebastian Bourdais was here. He's I think he's gone to LMDH now, DPI stuff. The Hypercast, yeah, all different names and stuff now. Who else we got? I feel like I'm missing one.
Salto.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You also had Montoya as well for a bit.
Yeah, he's coming back for the Indy 500.
Yeah, for race 5 and 6, I think it was. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and he's a legend as well, and he's won it. You know,
he's a big legend.
Yeah, massive legend. And one of Coops' favourite ever F1 drivers. Coops is another one of our panelists, so he'll be happy to get a Montoya reference in the podcast. How have you found kind of moving over to the States? Obviously, you moved from Italy to go to the States. Has it been a kind of a nice leap? Have you got used to kind of going into coffee shops and ordering a grande and getting your big steaks and stuff like that when you go to the restaurants?
I had to buy my own coffee machine. It's just ridiculous how much you can spend on coffee here. So I bought my own coffee machine. Actually, from the UK, I brought it out in my suitcase.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's been easy. I mean, no complaints. It's just been cold. Winter's been really cold. Yeah,
where are you living?
In Indiana. Literally, there's I would say almost 20 of us live here, and I never see them, only in the gym. Yeah, we all kind of hide away, I guess. But yeah, no, living on my own, it's chilled. I can't complain. I kind of live on, you know, I just travel. I live out of a suitcase. It's the best way.
I'm guessing it's quite different to Italy, though.
Quite different. I mean, the food was arguably a lot better in Italy. Here, it's very easy access, but it's hard to find the good stuff. What else? But yeah, I think here there's more to do. Like, Italy was difficult to find much to do other than gym and cycling, whereas at least here I think there's a lot more activities to do, which is good, and I can, you know, make up for my younger years where I was always just, you know, training and stuff. I can go out and do a bit more. I think I might go fishing or something soon.
Is it still snowing in Indiana? Because I know it's still snowing in a bit of the States.
It was snowing last night. No, the night before last. Today it's just cold. Hopefully it warms up a bit, but you never know what to expect now in this state. I thought it was going to get warm, but it hasn't.
It'll come up and down. I've visited the States quite a lot, so definitely have seen it. And 1 minute it'll be nice and hot, sunny, and then half an hour, 2 hours later it'll be really cold and grey, similar to the UK.
Yeah, it seems like that. It's very well. At least you've got a big country to kind of spread out your bad weather from.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you'll be seeing quite a lot of it this year by the sounds of it, with all the different races you're going to.
Yeah,
which is
luckily we
nice.
finished in September, so then I can go and do whatever I want after that. So I can go back to Europe, I can stay here, I can go for a little tour. Our season, it's nice to finish early because F1 you don't get a break. You go from December to back to February and that's it. And here you get September to February. It's lovely.
Cara, have you got a question for Callum?
I suppose I don't know if this is more one to end on, but sort of talking about. I know it's your first proper season in IndyCar, but what are your hopes for the future with it, and where do you sort of see this journey now in America progressing?
Look, I always hoped for F1 in that sense, and I still have my kind of long-term arrangement with Ferrari if there is space to go back. But at the same time, I wanted to make a good career, and I had the choice between IndyCar or the GT hypercar route, which I experimented with last year. And for me, IndyCar, there was more opportunity to shine and to give it a chance, because for example, if I came here and I couldn't make it work, I can always go back and do the GTs and try again. Whereas I think if I started and fully tried with this GT side, I would never get the opportunity to jump over and do IndyCar. And it's not easy to get the opportunity like I have anyway to do IndyCar. I think normally it requires a big chunk of money to be able to jump over and come here, and the opportunity I have here does not. So it's good to be able to make that work and try and pursue a long career.
So talk about the Le Mans then, because obviously, what's the difference between a Le Mans and an open wheel racing car that you're currently driving? Did you have fun last year when you did it?
Yeah, I mean the GT cars, they're obviously a lot heavier, but I don't know. It's different. It's different. Like you're doing 3 hours at a time at Le Mans box. Come in, you go eat some food, maybe go for a sleep, come back out. Tired obviously, but you get in the car, adrenaline comes back and you're off again. No, I really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. For me, like I wanted to shine on my own, like still be a single driver, and I felt whilst I still have the talent and the time to be able to do it, why not pursue it? But the GT stuff, I did enjoy it, and working with other drivers in the car to try and make your team the best, it's good fun, and there was opportunities to do it, but I thought, I'll just stick at this for a bit.
Okay, well, pick an ideal team. Let's just stick with Le Mans. Pick an ideal team that you'd like to be with you to compete with Le Mans in Le Mans. So you're going to compete in the 24-hour Le Mans. Who would you pick as your co-drivers to win?
Yeah, but you're going to be
race?
Disappointed because I'm not going to pick F1 drivers.
No, that's fine. That's entirely what we want. That's exactly what we want.
Probably. There's a lot more drivers in the endurance side of things than there are everywhere else. I would probably go for maybe Mike Conway and Montoya.
Nice, good lineup. Yeah. What team? Who would you go with? What car?
I have to say Ferrari because they're going into hypercars. So.
Contractually obliged.
Yes.
No, that's cool. That would be a great team. I'm sure.
Also,
you'd probably win in that.
I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm going to get kicked out of this track in the next 5 minutes. So I need to go. I'm really sorry to
that's fine. Okay, well, before you do go, then give us a prediction for the winner of this year. Are you going to stick with Ferrari, or are you going to put your money elsewhere? If you had £5 English, who would you pick to win the F1 championship this year?
So if I had 5 theoretical English pounds, because I don't think I'm allowed to bet on the sport that I'm in, I would go theoretically with Charles. Yes.
Safe bet.
It's pretty. I think your theoretical money will be pretty safe.
After 3 races, I think it's pretty safe. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, these things can change so quickly with new cars like this, but we'll see.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming to chat to us. Sorry we had to cut it short, but we've had a really good chat, really good, decent talk about a lot of things. We wish you luck in IndyCar this year, and we hope you hope you perform at least to what your team is expecting, and maybe get in that top 10, like you said. So thanks very
Thank
much
you
for
very
chatting to us
much for
today.
having me. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, that's been us from the Everything F1 podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. This will be on all of our social media platforms and, of course, on all of our podcast streaming, on multiple podcast streaming services in the morning. Go ahead and listen to it again and again as we, into the future. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. I've been James Tiller. That's been Sophia. And, of course, Cara. Thanks, ladies, for joining us too.
Thank you, James. Oh, and thank you, Callum.
And thank you, Callum. Once again, thank you very much to Callum for coming to chat to us today. We will see you next week. That's it.
Hi, I'm Callum Ilott. This is the Everything F1 podcast.
And that's perfect. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Awesome.
You can go now. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye. Have a good night.
Would you be able to share it with your socials when it goes live on the Watch and Call It? Is that something you can do?
Yeah, I can try.
Wait, I'll send a link to you maybe.
Sure.
Brilliant.
If you tweet it, I can like it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tweet it and we'll Instagram story it as well. So whatever, just to share with your friends. Thanks very much, Callum. All right.
No stress.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Cool. I'm gonna stop recording now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Recording stopped.
Have you stopped broadcasting?
That was so awesome.
Oh, actually,
Geeking out on Indycar.
Yeah,
Sophia, can you hit record again? Sorry, I just want to record another ending of that ending.
I don't. It's not an option at the top.
Oh, is it not? At the bottom?
Record on this computer, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
I just felt like the ending was a bit rushed because we were obviously trying to get rid of him and whatnot. So that was that. So that was the Everything F1 podcast. You can obviously find us on all our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We are also on TikTok, and of course, you can find us on our website www.everythingf1.com.